The Palori Navigation Consortium had spent 9 months trying to solve the Vantham Corridor. 9 months. 14 species. The most advanced stellar cartography suites in the known galaxy. Processing power that could model gravitational drift across 10,000 years in real time. And every single simulation ended the same way. Route failure. The Vantham Corridor, a 200 light-year stretch of collapsed stars, radiation shells and gravitational shear zones, was impassable. Every model said so. Every species agreed. So when the United Earth Navigation Authority sent a 63-year-old woman named Lenora Briggs to the consortium's planning table, the Palori delegation assumed it was a diplomatic gesture, a courtesy seat, humanity acknowledging the problem without claiming to solve it. Lenora sat at the back of the room for 2 days. She didn't speak. She watched 14 species cycle through presentation after presentation, gravimetric overlays, radiation decay models, jump corridor probability matrices rendered in 3 dimensions above the central table. On the 3rd morning, the Palori lead navigator, a senior cartographer named Sethal, who had mapped more systems than most species had visited, opened the floor for final proposals. Lenora stood up. She didn't connect to the consortium's display network. She pulled a physical data core from her jacket pocket. Matte black, scuffed, the kind of hardware that hadn't been standard issue in 20 years, and set it on the table. "I need your projection system for about 4 minutes," she said. Sethal gestured permission, more out of curiosity than expectation. The display changed. The consortium's map of the Vantham Corridor vanished. In its place appeared a chart that looked nothing like what the room had been studying. Same region, same stars, completely different architecture. Where the consortium's maps showed 14 dead stars as obstacles, radiation-dense masses to be routed around, Lenora's chart showed them as landmarks, waypoints. Her notations marked gravitational shadows behind each collapsed star, where the radiation dropped to navigable levels, and where the shear forces created current-like corridors a ship could ride if it entered at the correct angle and velocity. The room was silent. Sethal leaned forward. "These readings, when were they taken?" 31 years ago, Lenora said. "By whom?" "By me." She let that settle. "I ran a deep survey mission through the edge of the Vantham region in 2387. 12-person crew UEN survey vessel Cairn. We were mapping potential routes for a contingency the Joint Chiefs wanted on file. What happens if the standard corridor through Sector 9 becomes contested and we need an alternate?" "That corridor has never been contested," one of the Dravari delegates said. "No," Lenora agreed. "It hasn't, but we mapped the alternate anyway." She touched the display. The dead stars rotated, and lines appeared between them. Not straight lines, but curves. Arcs that followed gravitational contours the way a river follows terrain. "Every species in this room modeled the Vantham Corridor as a barrier," she said. 14 collapsed stars generating overlapping radiation fields and gravitational shear. Your simulations tried to find a path that avoids all of it. There isn't one. That's not the problem. She traced one of the curved lines with her finger. "The problem is that you're reading the map wrong. These dead stars aren't obstacles. They're the route. Each one casts a gravitational shadow, a cone of reduced radiation and predictable shear on the trailing side. You don't go around them. You go behind them. Star to star, shadow to shadow, riding the shear like a current. That would require," Sethal said slowly, "exact entry vectors for each transition, to the fraction of a degree." "Yes, and those vectors would shift as the gravitational environment evolves over 3 decades. They would. I recalculated the drift on the flight here. Updated vectors are on the core." She tapped the matte black device on the table. "The corridor has narrowed by about 11% since I charted it. It's still navigable. It will be for another 90 years, give or take." The Palori delegation exchanged a look that Lenora had seen before. The specific expression of a species realizing that the answer to their problem had existed for longer than they'd known the problem was a problem. "You mapped this route 31 years ago," Sethal said, "for a theoretical contingency." "That's correct. And you never published the charts. They were classified. The contingency they were built for never materialized, so they stayed filed. But you kept them." Lenora looked at Sethal with the patient expression of someone who had spent 4 decades in deep survey, who had charted regions that didn't have names yet, who had learned long ago that the difference between a dead end and a highway was how you read the terrain. "I keep all my charts," she said. The consortium voted that afternoon. Lenora's route was designated the primary navigation solution for the Vantham Corridor. 14 species had spent 9 months trying to solve a passage that a human navigator had already solved 3 decades earlier, alone, in a survey ship. Because someone had asked her to plan for a day that might never come, it came. She'd been ready since before most of them knew the question existed. The Palori updated their navigation archives that evening. The largest cartographic database in the known galaxy added a human designation to the Vantham Corridor for the first time. Briggs Passage. Lenora Briggs flew home the next morning. She had other charts to update. Follow Sci-Fi Shorts for more original sci-fi short stories. HFY, space opera, and life between the stars.